You are listening to Shaoni, Born from the Light, by Iowan. Read by Kevin M. Connolly. Chapter 17. A View from Above. We cannot see the atomic world because atoms are too small to be seen. We only see so many colors, but we know there are colors that are invisible to the eye. We believe these things simply because we have found ways to check them out. But before that, we thought they didn't exist. You would think that by now we would have learned that there is more to be seen than what eyes can see. You would think that by now we would know. Shaoni just couldn't grasp the idea. Then again, how could the wizard expect him to understand? How could he expect him to believe that there was more than the things we could see with our eyes? Complete other worlds even, if you were to believe the wizard. The best way is to just look at it from another angle, the wizard now said. Let me tell you about the world of the Flatbees. Maybe that will help you understand. Once, so the story goes, in a land where there were only 2 dimensions, lived a flatbee. Of course the bee was flat as it lived in a 2-dimensional world. Yes, indeed, everything in the flatbee's world was as flat as a piece of paper, flatter even. Things would always be this wide or that large, but never would be that tall. Shaoni looked up at the wizard. Of all the crazy stories he had ever heard. The wizard, however, didn't mind Shaoni's reaction and just continued. The flatbee was living happily in his own little world, minding his own business, not knowing of any 3rd dimension, until one day a human crossed his path. The human had no trouble seeing the flatbee. Unfortunately, the same couldn't be said for the little flatbee. No, the flatbee didn't see the human. How could he? The human, unaware of the flatbee's limitations, looked down at the flatbee, wished him a nice day, for a friendly human he was, and just walked along the road. Now you probably think that nothing special really happened here, but the man left the flatbee completely bewildered by what he had done. Why, you wonder? Well, just listen to the story from the flatbee's point of view. One sunny morning, a young flatbee was walking down a flat path leading to his flat village. The flatbee was just minding his own flat business and feeling very happy about it, when all of a sudden, this incredible thing happened. Out of nowhere, an enormous thing suddenly appeared in the middle of the path, accompanied by a crushing noise. The flatbee, who, it must be said, had a bit of a curious nature, went up to the thing to explore it, but just as it was about to reach this thing, bang, it disappeared, just as sudden as it appeared before. Then a fraction of a second later, it reappeared again, just a couple of feet further down the road. The flatbee by now felt a little nervous about this thing. Once again, although more cautiously this time, it moved over to the thing, but as it did, the thing miraculously disappeared again, then reappeared further down the road, and then again disappeared and reappeared. By now, the flatbee was pretty confused and afraid. He ran home in a panic and stuttered to his friends, "A miracle! A miracle! You'd never believe what I just saw! I was walking down the road when suddenly out of the blue appeared this giant thing." "Actually," Aniola said, "we know this giant thing was just the sole of the man's foot. But little did the flatbee know, for he could only see 2 dimensions, and what he saw was no more than a very, very flat footprint. The rest of the man simply didn't exist to the Flatbee, and as the Flatbee had never before encountered a footprint constantly appearing and disappearing right in front of his eyes no less, he was very upset. "But that's not all," stammered the poor Flatbee. "Just as soon as the thing appeared, it disappeared again. Then just about a second later, it appeared again, but somewhere else. Or at least something that looked the same, for it seemed to be the mere image of the first thing." By now, some of the other Flatbees looked at each other in disbelief and with a smile on their face. "But before I could take a closer look," the Flatbee continued, "bang! Gone it was again. And a second later, bang! Back again, a bit further down the road. And this phenomena just went on and on. And then there was this voice coming from nowhere. A voice wishing me a nice day. Very frightening it was, I tell you. Very frightening." Well, you can imagine how the other Flatbees reacted on this story. Some said he was a drunk. Others thought he was just joking, but the man was gone, never to return, and the event quickly became just another story in Flatbee Land. Shaoni sat quiet by the side of the road. He had known the wizard long enough to know this wasn't just a story. "I bet before long he'll tell me that I'm a Flatbee," the boy thought, but wisely held his tongue. Aniola came over to the boy and sat down beside him. "Did that get you anywhere?" he asked. Shaoni just looked at the wizard. "Better not move," he thought. "The best thing for the Flatbee in order to understand," Aniola continued, "would be to just lift him off the ground and show him the world from above. This would immediately clarify the mystery to him, and all would fall into place again." Shaoni sat tight, for he had a weird feeling something was about to happen to him. Yes," he uttered. "Well, the same goes for you, too. Sometimes, if you really cannot grasp a certain idea, best thing is to look at it from a completely new angle and see what happens next." "Right," the boy said, still waiting for the worst to happen. "So," Aniola said, "you told me you didn't understand how there could be something else, something beside the things you see. Well now, remember how the Flatbee thought the foot was constantly appearing and disappearing? How could the poor Flatbee understand that the foot didn't really disappear?" "By lifting him up into the air, into the third dimension," Shaoni said. "Exactly." Aniola looked at the boy with a smile on his lips. "Are you then going to show me a fourth dimension?" Shaoni asked. "In a way I am," Aniola replied. "That is, at least, if you are willing to follow." Shaoni thought. "This might turn out to be more fun than I had hoped for after all. Let's give it a try," he said. Later that evening, the wizard came up to the boy and said, "Tonight, my boy, just before falling asleep, go to your center and imagine. Imagine a veil in front of your eyes, like a thick mist obscuring your vision. A veil preventing you from seeing a world that lies beyond our world, a world just as real as ours, but vibrating at a higher frequency. Then slowly, in your thoughts, see how this mist starts to dissolve. Bit by bit, the mist dissolves, leaving you to see a world filled with light beings, just a dimension away." That evening, Shaoni didn't ask any questions. Deep within, he felt as if he already knew what the wizard was talking about.